Why did ancient humans never get depressed? At some point today, you will open your phone and feel worse than before you opened it. At some point this week, you will lie awake at 2 a.m. thinking about something that happened 3 years ago or something that might happen 3 years from now. At some point this month, a gray feeling will arrive with no name and no cause and no clear exit. And you will call it your fault. Your brain. Your chemistry. Your problem to fix. Ancient humans did not have this problem. Not because their lives were easier. Their lives were objectively harder. Predators. Famine. No hospitals. No heating. Death was not a statistic. It was a neighbor. And yet the archaeological and anthropological record shows almost no evidence of the kind of chronic psychological suffering that now affects roughly 1 in 5 people on Earth. So what did they know that you have forgotten? And why, in a world with every comfort your ancestors could not have imagined, are you the one who cannot sleep? In the next 10 minutes you will find out. And some of it will be funny. And some of it will be the most useful thing you have heard all year. Let us start outside. You were not built for the inside. Your nervous system, your endocrine system, your circadian rhythm, your immune system, every major biological system you run on was calibrated over hundreds of thousands of years in one environment. Outside. In sunlight. On uneven ground. Surrounded by living things that were not made of glass or concrete or notification sounds. Ancient humans spent approximately 90% of their waking hours outdoors. Not because they enjoyed nature. Because there was nothing else. The outdoors was not a weekend activity. It was the only activity. And the effect of that constant outdoor exposure on the human brain is something modern neuroscience is only beginning to fully document. Sunlight hits the retina and triggers serotonin production. Not supplements. Not a sad lamp. Actual unfiltered morning sunlight on actual human eyes does something to the brain that no pharmaceutical has yet replicated with the same precision and zero side effects. Ancient humans got this every single day before they had done anything else. They woke up and the medicine was already there, free, waiting, covering the entire sky. Then there is the greenery. Japanese researchers studying what they call shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, have found that spending as little as 20 minutes among trees measurably reduces cortisol levels, lowers blood pressure, decreases activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain most associated with rumination and self-referential thinking, and increases natural killer cell activity in the immune system. 20 minutes. Among trees. And the brain begins to reset in ways that antidepressants take 6 weeks to approximate. Ancient humans did not go forest bathing. They lived inside the forest. Every walk was a forest bath. Every moment of rest was taken in the greenery. The cure was not something they sought. It was something they could not escape. You, meanwhile, commute through concrete corridors to sit inside a temperature-controlled box under artificial light to stare at a luminous rectangle for 8 hours, then pay a significant portion of your income for a small plant on your desk that you sometimes forget to water. The plant knows. The plant is trying its best. Now the second thing. And this one is both true and slightly terrible. Ancient humans were too busy surviving to spiral. Depression, as a clinical phenomenon, has a very specific architecture. It requires rumination, the repeated, involuntary replaying of past events or future fears. It requires what psychologists call self-focused negative thinking. A sustained inward loop that the mind cannot exit. And here is the thing about that loop. It requires a very specific condition to form. It requires safety. You cannot ruminate when a predator is present. The nervous system has a priority system and existential self-analysis is not at the top of it. When something with teeth is in the vicinity, the prefrontal cortex, the seat of self-reflection, planning, and the kind of thinking that produces depression, goes quiet. The amygdala takes over. The body moves. The mind follows the body. There is no room for the loop. Ancient humans lived in an environment that regularly, reliably, and involuntarily pulled them out of their own heads. Not through mindfulness practice. Not through therapy. Through the simple biological reality that the world around them demanded their full attention or they would die. This is not an endorsement of being chased by predators. This is an observation that the modern nervous system, which evolved in that environment, now operates in a world where the predator has been removed but the nervous system has not been updated. You have all the cortisol machinery of a creature who needed to outrun something. And nothing to run from. So the cortisol finds a different target. Usually you. And here is where the ancient world had one final advantage that no wellness app has managed to replicate. If the existential dread did manage to take root, if the spiral began, if the gray feeling arrived, the environment had a natural ceiling on how far it could go. You cannot sustain a 2-year depressive episode when the outside world has predators with opinions about your availability. The ancient human who lay down in the grass and decided not to get up was making a different kind of choice than the modern human who stays in bed. The stakes of disengagement were immediate and concrete and often had fur and claws. This is not dark. This is just physics. The ancient world had a hard reset button. It was not gentle. But it was effective. The result was a nervous system that was kept, by necessity, in the present moment. Not by meditation. Not by breathing exercises. By the simple fact that the present moment contained things that required your full attention to survive. Presence was not a spiritual achievement for ancient humans. It was a biological requirement. Now here is what this actually means for you. Because the answer is not to go find a bear. The 3 things that protected ancient humans from depression were not complicated. Sunlight. Movement in nature. Community with real stakes. And the inability to spend extended time alone inside their own heads without the external world pulling them back out. Every single one of these things is available to you. Not in the original form. But in a form close enough to matter. The research on exercise as an antidepressant is now so robust that several countries have begun prescribing it before medication for mild to moderate depression. Not because exercise is fun. Because the body moving through space in the way it was built to move through space does something to the brain that the brain genuinely cannot do sitting still. The ancient human moved constantly. Not to exercise. Because moving was how you lived. The movement was the life, not a supplement to it. The research on social connection and depression is equally clear. Humans are the most socially dependent large mammal on Earth. The ancient human was never alone by choice. Solitude was not a refuge. It was a danger. The tribe was not a social preference. It was a survival structure. And the neuroscience of belonging, of being genuinely known by other people, of having your presence matter to a group, produces neurological effects that no solo activity can replicate. You were not built to be alone in a room with your thoughts and a Wi-Fi connection. Nobody was. The ancient human who wandered too far from the tribe did not do it twice. But here is the deepest thing. The thing beneath all of this. Ancient humans did not have depression at scale because they did not have the gap. The gap is the distance between what your life is and what you believe it should be. Depression does not live in difficulty. It lives in that gap. Ancient humans had difficulty in abundance. But they did not have the gap because they did not have the comparison. There was no version of life being projected at them from a screen showing them thinner, richer, more loved, more purposeful versions of themselves that they were supposed to be measuring up to. There was just the life. The actual life. The fire, the forest, the tribe, the sky. The gap is a modern invention. And it is the single most effective depression-generating technology ever created. This does not mean ancient life was better. It means ancient life was honest about what the human nervous system actually needs. And the human nervous system has not changed. It still needs sunlight and movement and greenery and community and presence. It still needs the outside world to occasionally pull it out of its own head. It still needs a life with enough real stakes that the mind does not have the luxury of manufacturing imaginary ones. You are not broken. You are a nervous system built for one world, living in another. And the distance between those two worlds is where the gray feeling lives. The good news is the cure is the same as it always was. It is just harder to find now. Not because it is rare. Because it is free. And free things are very easy to forget when everything around you is for sale. Go outside. Move. Be with people who know your name. Let the greenery do what the greenery has always done. And if the spiral finds you anyway, if the loop starts and you cannot find the exit, remember that the ancient human had a very reliable method for returning to the present moment. It involved something large, something fast, and something with very little interest in your inner life. You are still here. Which means some version of that instinct still works. One dot. One breath. One key.